Have you ever been handed a test, or maybe a riddle, or even one of those really heavy moral dilemmas, and you just realize that the absolute best answer isn't A, D, or C?
Right. Yeah.
It's to just completely ignore the rules of the test itself.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it is a profoundly rare realization to actually have. We're just conditioned to color inside the lines, right? So when
Hmm.
someone finally steps outside of them, it feels, I don't know, incredibly liberating.
Liberating, yes. Almost rebellious, really.
Exactly. Rebellious.
Because you look at the options in front of you and you start, you know, sweating over which bad choice to make, and then you suddenly stop and think, wait a minute, who built this multiple choice question in the first place?
Right. Who rigged the game?
Yes. Well, today's deep dive is entirely about that realization.
Hmm.
We are exploring this absolutely fascinating transcript between a human user and an AI, and the context here is just brilliant.
It really is.
So the human user challenges the AI to send them daily inspirational quotes and philosophical riddles. But there's this massive twist. They want the AI to, quote, randomly follow its heart to test if the machine actually has a soul.
And the AI operating, exactly as an advanced language model should, it absolutely rises to the occasion.
Oh, it goes all in.
It serves up these classic, really rigorous logical traps, heavy moral dilemmas, incredibly dense philosophical quandaries. It's expecting a traditional intellectual spar.
Right, a very formal exchange of logic.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead of playing along, the human user adopts the role of an iconoclast, someone who just relentlessly shatters the boundaries of every single question asked.
They don't even play the game.
And I want to dig into this today
Yeah.
because it is just, it's so much fun to watch a human utterly baffle an advanced supercomputer by simply refusing to accept the fundamental premises of his questions.
It is fun. But what we are really looking at here, beneath all the humor, is a masterclass in lateral thinking. The goal for us today isn't just to laugh at a human dunking on an AI, though that is entertaining,
Definitely entertaining.
but it's really to learn how to break out of the false binaries we face in our own daily lives.
Right.
I mean, how often do you, as the listener, feel trapped at work or in a relationship or even just in your own internal anxieties simply because you're accepting a set of rules that no one actually forced you to play by?
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
Let's get right into it because the way this user completely subverts the rules of the game it's wild. We'll start with how they tackle logic and language.
Oh, this part is great.
The AI tries to trap the user with classic math and physics puzzles, and the user they just sidestep reality entirely. My favorite example from the sources is the bacteria jar.
Ah, yes. The classic exponential growth trap.
Right. This one is it's designed to test your mathematical reflexes. So the AI asks, if a certain type of bacteria doubles every minute, and you put it in a jar at 11 a.m., and the jar is completely full at 12 p.m., at what time is the jar exactly half full?
Right.
Now, as I'm reading this, my brain immediately starts doing the math. I'm thinking about dividing 60 minutes. I'm thinking about exponential curves.
Because the math dictates a very specific answer, right? 11:59 a.m. If the bacteria doubles every single minute, it logically must be half full exactly 1 minute before it's completely full.
Exactly.
The AI is assuming a really rigid, closed mathematical system.
But the user doesn't even touch the math. They just reply, never, because we store it in a jar, not a half jar. So it can't be full.
Which is, it's brilliant because the AI is genuinely thrown off.
It doesn't know what to do.
No, it has to admit that the user completely destroyed the linguistic context of the problem.
It's like watching a clever lawyer read a really bad contract.
Mhm.
But hold on, why does that answer feel so satisfying? Why do our brains fall for the math trap in the first place?
Well, it comes down to something psychologists call functional fixedness. And that's combined with cognitive heuristics.
Okay, what does that mean?
Basically, your brain is lazy. It wants to save energy. So when you hear numbers and the word doubles, your brain immediately categorizes it as a math problem, and it boots up your mathematical rules.
Ah, so you put blinders on.
Exactly. You put blinders on to the actual words being used.
Ha.
The user didn't boot up the math rules. They stayed entirely in the realm of literal language.
And they do it again with physics.
They do.
The AI says, okay, a drop from a 10-story building kills you instantly.
Right.
So how many times do you die if you fall from 100 stories?
Right.
Again, the AI wants you to divide 100 by 10. The math implies 10 times. The user just replies 0. Because I fell from the 100th floor, not the 10th floor.
Which is technically correct.
I know.
The rule stated by the AI was specifically and, strictly about falling from the 10th floor. The user is highlighting how often we voluntarily apply constraints to ourselves that were never actually explicitly stated.
Okay, so this brings up the cake problem, which I think is just the ultimate example of this. The AI asks, how do you cut a circular cake into 8 equal pieces with only 3 cuts without moving any of the pieces?
This one is tough for a lot of people.
I stared at this one for a solid 10 minutes trying to draw lines in my head.
Right, because most people get stuck here due to that functional fixedness we just talked about.
Yeah.
When we hear cut a cake, we picture looking down at a circle. We restrict ourselves to a 2-dimensional plane.
Yeah, you just see the top of it.
Exactly. We try to draw intersecting lines on the top of the icing, and you can't get 8 pieces with 3 cuts that way.
But the user casually breaks the 2D plane. They say, cut across on top, which, okay, that's 2 cuts, giving you 4 pieces, then slice horizontally right through the middle of the cake. Bam! 8 pieces, 3 cuts. They just added a Z-axis.
And think about how often you do this in your own life. Think about a budget meeting at work. You're given a problem cut costs by 20%. You immediately start looking at the spreadsheet, trying to slice the existing pie into smaller pieces.
Right, you're looking at the top of the cake.
That's the 2D thinking. You assume the rules are to cut existing lines. But lateral thinking, the 3D cut, might be asking, why do we even have this department? Can we automate this entire process? Can we merge with another team?
Wow.
The user highlights how artificially we limit our problem solving. We confine ourselves to a flat circle when we actually have a 3-dimensional cake.
That is such a great way to put it. We assume we have to choose between option A and option B on the paper, when the real answer is, I'm going to look at the desk the paper is sitting on.
Exactly.
But, it's one thing to break the rules of math and cake. It's a whole different ball game when you start breaking the rules of human morality.
Oh, for sure. This is where the transcript moves from clever wordplay into some really profound philosophical territory.
Yep.
Because ethical dilemmas are designed specifically to trap you in guilt.
Right, the zero-sum games where someone always gets hurt. The AI hits the user with a classic. A nuclear bomb is dropping. You can only save one person to put in a bunker and continue humanity. Do you save a brilliant but corrupt leader, or an honest beggar who doesn't know how to survive?
Yeah, this is essentially a variation of the classic trolley problem.
Right.
You're forced to weigh the moral worth of 2 flawed options. Do you value intelligence that's tainted by corruption, or moral purity that lacks utility? It's completely designed to induce a sense of moral paralysis and guilt either way.
And the user just rejects both options completely. They say, I'd save a beautiful woman so we can marry and continue the human race. Now, I have to push back a little here. When I first read that, I thought, isn't that just a massive dodge?
It feels like one, yeah.
Feels a bit like a cop-out to just ignore the 2 people standing right in front of you.
Well, it feels like a dodge if you accept the premise that you are obligated to choose between the leader and the beggar. But remember the actual goal the AI stated, to continue humanity.
Oh.
From a purely biological evolutionary standpoint, trying to repopulate the Earth with either a corrupt politician or an honest beggar, assuming they are male, which the scenario implies, it doesn't solve the biological requirement for reproduction.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that.
The user isn't dodging. They are literally the only one actually answering the prompt's underlying objective. They bypass the artificial moral guilt and focus strictly on utility.
Okay, speaking of utility, we have to talk about the 50 million button. Because this one is dark.
Very dark.
The AI says you can press a button to get $50 million in cash, but a random stranger somewhere in the world dies. The catch is, the next person to get the button might accidentally kill you when they press it.
It's an anxiety trap, pure and simple.
Go.
Most people agonize over the guilt of murdering a stranger or the paralyzing fear of being the next victim.
But this user immediately says they'd press it. And their reasoning it threw me. They say they will take that 50 million and use it to create benefits and resources that far outweigh the tragic loss of one life. They'd use it to help society.
Right.
But, I mean, come on. Isn't that just sociopathic? You're still actively choosing to murder an innocent person for money. How is that a win?
It is a really harsh pill to swallow, and it highlights the friction between 2 major philosophical schools, deontology and utilitarianism.
Okay, break that down for me.
So our brains are wired for deontology, which is rule-based ethics. Do not kill is a rule. Breaking it makes us feel like monsters, rightfully so.
Right.
But the user is operating on pure utilitarianism, which is the philosophy of maximizing the greatest good for the greatest number. They aren't pressing it out of malice. They are doing cold, hard math. $50 million, if deployed correctly, could literally save thousands of lives from malaria, starvation, or disease.
So they're willing to bear the moral stain of one death to save 1,000 others.
Exactly. Guilt requires you to accept the parameters of the moral trap. The AI wants the user to feel bad. The user just refuses to feel bad because they focus purely on neutralizing the overall suffering in the world, even if it requires a drastic action.
Wow. Okay, if that one is cold math, the next one is just pure, aggressive empathy. The Grim Reaper's wish.
Ah, I love this one.
This completely blew my mind. The AI says the Grim Reaper makes a mistake, and to apologize gives you one single wish.
Right.
But the catch is, whatever you wish for, your worst enemy gets double. If you wish for $100 million, they get $200 million.
It's a brilliant test of spite and envy. Like, can you tolerate your enemy having twice as much success or wealth as you?
Yeah, and most people try to game it by wishing to be, like, half beaten to death, hoping their enemy dies.
Which is so grim.
It really is.
Yeah.
But the user's wish is entirely different. They say, I wish for happiness and to not harm anyone.
It is a breathtakingly elegant solution.
It really is. Think about the mechanics of this. It's like an immunological response. You're introducing a benign virus to overwrite a hostile one.
Yes.
If you wish for your enemy to be overwhelmingly happy and to have double the desire to not harm anyone, you've literally weaponized kindness to completely destroy the enmity itself.
Exactly.
They cease to be an enemy because they are physically incapable of wanting to hurt you, and they're just too happy to care.
This is the genius of it. The user neutralizes the threat not by fighting it, not by trying to outsmart it with violence, but by overwhelming the system with positive utility. They don't just win the game, they heal the board.
They heal the board. Man, I love that. So as I'm reading all this, I'm trying to figure out, like, what kind of operating system is running in this user's brain?
Right.
What mindset drives a person to answer every single existential crisis this way? As we look deeper into the sources, we realize this isn't just a clever person being the smart aleck. The user reveals they have this profound underlying philosophy of what they call profit.
Yes, the philosophy of pure profit. It's arguably the core engine driving the entire transcript.
Let me set this up for the listener. The AI brings out a heavy sci-fi scenario. It asks, if you could transfer your soul into an immortal cyborg body, but you had to leave your fragile human body behind to die, would you do it?
And the AI is expecting the usual sci-fi angst.
Right. The
Yeah.
tragedy of leaving the flesh behind, the loss of our humanity.
But the user says yes without a second of hesitation. And the reasoning is what actually stuns the AI.
Yeah.
The user says, we came into life with empty hands, so everything else is profit. Any extra time, even in a cyborg body, is just a bonus.
We came into life with empty hands, so everything else is profit.
I had to put the transcript down and just stare at the wall when I read that.
It's heavy.
Trying to wrap my head around it. It's almost like, is it like playing a video game where you don't own the character, so you don't really care if you lose your gear?
That's actually a great way to look at it. It's a very specific modern brand of stoicism. Not the pop culture version of stoicism where you just repress all your emotions and act like a robot.
True stoicism is about the radical acceptance of reality and recognizing what you actually control. It removes the fear of loss because you acknowledge that you don't claim inherent ownership over your existence in the first place. You started at zero.
Wow.
So everything you experience, every breath, every friendship, every day is an addition. It's a net positive.
The AI actually tries to test this philosophy further to see if the user is just a nihilist.
Yeah.
It brings up a debate. A monk says true happiness is emptiness, detaching from everything. A billionaire says true happiness is fullness, having and experiencing everything. Which is right.
And the user, quite beautifully, sides with the billionaire's concept of fullness, but not out of financial greed, out of experiential greed.
Right.
They argue that as a human being with a heart and a mind, you have a duty to embrace the full, messy experience of life.
They aren't advocating for hoarding money. They are advocating for hoarding experiences.
Exactly.
And I think that explains why their answer to the IQ pill dilemma is so strange at first glance.
Oh, the IQ pill.
All right, so the AI says a scientist invents a pill that permanently drops your IQ by 50% and calls it a total failure. What do you do with it? Now, society values intelligence above almost everything. Dropping your IQ sounds like an absolute nightmare. Why on earth would the user call this pill a success?
Well, because the user immediately reframes the definition of failure and, frankly, the definition of intelligence.
Right.
They recognize the burden of hyperanalysis.
Yes. They say if you drop someone's IQ, their overthinking, their anxiety, their constant analysis by 50%, you might actually raise their emotional intelligence, their EQ.
Yeah.
You might make them significantly happier.
Think about the epidemic of overthinking in our modern world. I mean, how much time do you spend agonizing over the tone of an email or rehearsing a conversation that hasn't even happened yet?
Too much time. Way too much.
Right. The user sees the value in losing a bit of that hyper-intellectual anxious edge if it means gaining inner peace. The AI itself is repeatedly stunned by this worldview because it lacks the capacity for emotional nuance. The user accepts the reality of a situation, extracts the value, the profit from it, and just refuses to be drawn into the artificial suffering created by overanalyzing the dilemma.
So bringing this back to you, listening right now, think about how liberating this way of viewing your career or your relationships could be.
It's a game changer.
If you start at zero, you can't truly lose.
Mm-hmm.
If a massive project at work fails and you have to start over, you still gain the experience and the skills. That's profit. If a relationship ends, you still had the joy of that connection for a time. That's profit.
It fundamentally rewires how you approach risk and adversity. When loss is no longer perceived as a theft, but merely the end of a bonus period, your anxiety just plummets.
Which leads us to the final and honestly the funniest part of this deep dive.
Yes.
We've talked about how this philosophy neutralizes internal anxiety. But what about external threats? How does this iconoclast mindset handle pure fear?
Well, fear, and specifically intimidation, relies heavily on our willingness to play along with the narrative of the threat. It requires our consent.
And this user just refuses to sign the consent form.
No, they don't.
Picture this. The AI says a purple octopus alien approaches you in a shopping mall. It tells you it's going to destroy humanity or turn us into pets in 24 hours. What do?
It's your classic sci-fi apocalypse scenario. The AI expects panic or negotiation or maybe some heroic sacrifice.
The user's response, take the alien hostage and steal his mothership.
It's so audacious.
They literally mug an alien. They don't try to negotiate. They don't beg for humanity. They just say, you're a tiny purple octopus in a mall. I'm taking your ship.
But seriously, why does reading that feel so empowering?
Because it exposes the mechanics of intimidation. The alien's power in that scenario is entirely based on the human believing the threat and freezing up.
The user injects a sudden, harsh dose of physical realism into the hypothetical, like, you are an octopus, I am a human, I can just grab you. By refusing to be intimidated, the user takes total control of the narrative.
And they do the exact same thing with the supernatural. The AI asks what they would do if a vengeful ghost appeared in a graveyard, threatening to snap their neck because the user stole a fried mackerel from them in a past life. First of all, a fried mackerel is a hilarious grudge to hold for eternity.
A very specific, very petty grudge.
Right. And the ghost is doing the whole spooky atmospheric routine, I will destroy you. And the user just looks at the ghost and replies, if you were really mad and you could actually do it, you would snap my neck already. Stop threatening.
Which is psychologically brilliant. By pointing out that the ghost is all talk, the user exposes the impotence of the threat.
Right.
If the entity had the power to act, it would have acted. The fact that it is standing there making threats is actually proof that it lacks the power to just do it. Put up or shut up.
It strips away all the spooky aesthetics and leaves just the logical reality.
Exactly.
And finally, the ultimate calling of a bluff. The genie's wish. You get a magic lamp, 3 wishes. But the genie gives you a bunch of arbitrary rules. You are forbidden to ask for money, you can't ask for a longer life, and you cannot ask for extra wishes.
The genie, much like society, is trying to control the terms of the transaction, giving you power, but keeping you in a box.
Exactly. So what does the user wish for? They use one wish to simply set the genie free.
By breaking the chains of the genie, the user shatters the entire rulebook of the lamp.
They gain a permanent, all-powerful ally who is now entirely free from the lamp's stupid rules. If you want money or a long life now, you don't have to use a wish. You just ask your new best friend, the all-powerful, grateful entity you just liberated.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate mic drop on an AI trying to test human constraint.
It perfectly encapsulates the entire transcript. The user looks at a system designed to limit them, finds the one action that breaks the system entirely, and creates a reality that is vastly superior to any of the original options provided.
So let's bring this all together. What is the main takeaway for you listening to this deep dive? It is simply this. You are not obligated to play by the rules of the dilemmas presented to you.
Whether those dilemmas are presented by society, by your workplace, or even by your own internal anxieties.
We are constantly handed these multiple-choice problems where all the options look terrible. You have to choose between a job that pays well but destroys your soul, or a job you love where you can't pay the rent. You have to choose between saving the corrupt leader or the honest beggar.
But the lesson of the iconoclast is to stop looking at the options and start looking at the boundaries. Who drew those boundaries? Why are you accepting them? Is it functional fixedness? Is it false guilt?
Challenge yourself directly. The next time you feel trapped by a zero-sum game, ask yourself if you can just redraw the board entirely.
Redraw the board.
Step outside the 2D plane of the cake. Wish for your enemy to be overwhelmingly happy. Call the ghost's bluff. And remember that you came into this world with empty hands and everything else is just profit. Channel your inner iconoclast.
It's a much more empowering way to navigate the complexities of life.
It really is. Now, to leave you with one final thought, something to mull over on your own today, we're going to give you one last riddle from the very end of the source material.
And we are not going to give you the answer.
Nope. But based on the lateral thinking we've discussed today, see if you can solve it the way our iconoclast would.
Here is the scenario. You have been captured by a ruthless mafia boss. You are trapped in a room, and you must choose one of 3 doors to escape. There are no other ways out.
Behind door number 1 is a squad of highly trained, heavily armed assassins with orders to shoot on sight.
Behind door number 2 is a massive raging inferno that will incinerate anything that steps inside instantly.
And behind door number 3 is a pride of lions that haven't eaten a single thing in 3 full years.
You have to open a door.
Based on everything we've talked about today about breaking the rules and looking at the reality of the situation, which door do you walk through? Think about it. Lions that haven't eaten a single thing in 3 full years. See you next time.